Chris Hartley, good afternoon. How are you today?
Good, thank you, Brian. Afternoon, everybody. Yeah, looking forward to this. As you say, it's not the biggest field in the world, but some great drivers in there, isn't there? You've got Maxi Götz, former DTM champion, standing in for Arjun Maini this weekend. He's going to be in the Haupt at Mercedes. So he'll go, one of the drivers going in the second stint. You've got Sven Muller, who's a former Porsche Carrera Cup Germany and Super Cup champion as well, amongst the elite drivers in the field. And there's Eduardo Cosseteng, who's come from single-seater racing the Filipino driver in the British F4 Championship, a race winner in that last season. His dad, Jody Cosseteng, was a great touring car racer, 15 championship titles he won in the Philippines and in the USA. So moving to cars with a roof over his head, Eduardo Cosseteng this weekend, and some talented young drivers in the field as well. Ralph Aron, it's been great to have him back racing this season, because a great single-seater racing. He was racing in European Formula 3 in the sort of era of Lando Norris, who won the title in 2017, and Mick Schumacher, who won it in 2018, and his brother Paul Aron, of course, doing rather well these days as a Mercedes junior driver.
Yeah, and I swear that I will give money to charity every time I call Ralph Aron Paul Aron. It's taking me 6 months to get my head around this one, but Ralph is proving to be very useful indeed. So the engines are bursting into life. It has been 6 weeks since we last saw the GT Masters. It was back in July at the Nürburgring. You remember that part of the Truck Grand Prix? It was in race one there that Elias Seppänen and Salman Vega became the only drivers to win 2 races so far this season. They picked up their second win. It was Benjamin Highties and Marco Mappelli who won the other race, and as a result of that, they will be carrying an extra 20 kilos of success ballast in this race in that Lamborghini. We also have Sven Muller and Finn Gersitz, who finished in 3rd place at the Nürburgring, and they have an extra 5 kilograms of success penalty on board as well. That will affect them here this afternoon. We are at the Sachsenring. We're just a little bit outside Chemnitz in Saxony, a circuit that is 3.645 kilometers around. That equates to about 2.26 miles. 13 turns, 4 to the right and 9 to the left. Rather unusually, we race in an anti-clockwise direction. One of the key features of this track, though, is the massive undulation. Lots of gradient change, lots of blind crests. It is a fantastic circuit. There's a look at the grid. It pops up on the screen very quickly. Let's have a more detailed look. Salman Vega on pole position, Benjamin Highties alongside. It's Yanis Fischer for Huber Motorsport and Alan Valente for HRT on row 2. Row 3, Finn Gersitz has Jonas Karklis for company for Nordpass Racing, Porsche and Audi occupying that 3rd row, and Eduardo Cosseteng and Petru Umbra Rescue, already mentioned, who's sharing with Maxi Götz, and what a mentor he has with Maxi Götz, who will be passing on his wisdom and then will be passing on his driver's skills in the second half of this race. There is confirmation of the point standings there. I told you didn't need many cars for a good race, and look at that. Zimmerman and Evans, who are 3rd, are not taking part this weekend, and we send our best wishes to Christoph Huber at the moment as well. So, looking down the waterfall, the part of the track that is called a waterfall because it looks like a waterfall. It is proper steep. When you run down it, you get the wind behind you. It is very fast indeed, and the cars can pick up an awful lot of speed. A great overtaking opportunity into turn 12, but it is a corner, turn 12, that catches drivers out. Also turn 1, great overtaking opportunity into there, but some very deep gravel traps. Turn 1, it's a sharp right-hand turn. The track goes very narrow and very downhill. We are getting ready for race 7 of a 12-race season. This is the ADAC GT Masters, and we are go. And it's Salman Vega has a great start. See Eduardo Cosseteng moving to the outside as well, but Salman Vega leading into turn 1. Benjamin Highties under pressure from Yanis Fischer into that first corner. The cars close as they can be, but good move from Yanis Fischer pressure, trying to steal it away, but Benjamin Heity's coming back in the Lamborghini, sealing that second place. A bit of dust being kicked up into the air, but it's Salman Vega looking for his third win of the season, who leads the field as they go up over the blind crest of turn 5 and then down turn 6 towards turn 7. It's a steep drop, then a little short sharp shoot. Under the bridge they go towards turn 8, and then it'll be uphill again towards turn 9. Another blind crest on this circuit. Takes a lot of courage to keep your foot buried on it as you head up there towards turn 10. And you can see Salman Vega pushing hard, picking up the dirt, but look at the lead he has already on Benjamin Heities as he heads down the waterfall into turn 12 to complete the first lap in a few moments. Up towards turn 13 they come. It's a steep uphill, and the cars with 1 lap in the books. It is 60 minutes of racing plus 1 lap. There is a mandatory pit stop and driver change that will need to take place in the pit window. At the moment, further back, Finn Gersitz is coming under pressure from Alan Valente in the number 2 car. So Finn Gersitz, who has adapted to GT3 racing this year in great style, riding on board with Eduardo Cosateng in the Schubert Motorsport BMW.
Yeah, it's a really good start from Gersitz to leapfrog past the Mercedes to get up into 4th place on the run through turn 1. But for the second half of the first lap and at the beginning of this lap, he's been under quite a bit of pressure, as you say, from Valente, the Swiss driver, in the black and white number 2 Mercedes, and we had the onboard camera from Eduardo Cosateng as well in his first season of GT racing, just behind in the BMW, although he's dropped back a little bit now. So Vega with a 2-second lead at the end of the first lap of the race from Heities, who was busy fending off Fitcher, but certainly for the first 2 or 3 corners, wasn't he? The Porsche almost getting through, certainly getting alongside, and then the next Porsche of Gersitz in 4th place, just starting to ease away now from the Mercedes of Valente as they make their way down the waterfall to about 260 kilometres an hour before they brake and turn left through turn 12.
We said this track is challenging. It is so hard on tyres. Tyre degradation will be an issue, and looking after those tyres is critical. These tyres have to last for 1 hour because tyre changes are not permitted in GT Masters, and whatever state they're in when we come to the mandatory stop and driver change, your co-pilot will have to inherit those tyres and bring them home. So not taking too much out too early on is very, very important, and this is the circuit on the calendar where tyre degradation is always an issue. So Salman Vega will be aware of that. He's opened up a gap of 2.9 seconds, and he'll probably not be pushing too hard from there because he needs to look after those tyres. If you run out of grip later on, then Elias Sepinen is not going to thank him for that. Just to remind you, once again, there is a mandatory stop and driver change that will take place as we see Petro Umbra Rescue going very wide out of the corner. There will be a pit window that will open 25 minutes into the race. It will remain open for 10 minutes, so therefore close 35 minutes into the race, and during that pit window every car will need to come in for the mandatory stop driver change, but no tyre changes. There is also a minimum pit stop time for pit entry to pit exit of 65 seconds. If anybody goes below that time, they will pick up a penalty. Just looking ahead of Alan Valente and Finn Gersitz and Janis Fitcher very close together. Eduardo Cosateng there. That was the view of him using a little bit extra of the track as well.
Yeah, not unusual to see cars just easing themselves or a couple of wheels into the gravel through those fast sections. You've got blind entries into some of the corners here. So, as you say, coming out of turn 3, you climb all the way up through the left-handers at turns 4, 5 and 6. You get to the top of a crest going into 7. And you've got to just remember where your turning point is, where your braking point is, because you can't see the corner until you're in the corner. And then it drops downhill, and suddenly the nose of the car has got all the weight on it. The back of the car goes light, and it understeers wide into the gravel trap. So Vega just getting on with the business. He's got the fastest lap of the race. The race leader already 3.5 seconds clear of Benjamin Heities in 2nd place in the Lamborghini. Then Fitcher in 3rd. He's keeping him honest. He's about 0.6 of a second behind. The lap divided into 3 sectors. The first sector is the longest sector by far here. That takes him at the start all the way down to the exit to turn 7. So it takes him that spirally corkscrew run down through the first sequence of corners. And it's the twisty bits really. The second and third sectors are the fast open corners. And I noticed through the start of the lap, the Mercedes of Valenti was all over at the back of the Porsche of Gersit. But as it opens up, as the lap gets quicker and the turns get quicker, the Porsche is able to just ease away a little bit in the second half of the lap.
Yes, these cars, which are all very, very different, of course. You have front engine, rear engine, mid engines, and the BOP, the balance of performance, making them very level indeed. But it does mean that different characteristics feature on different parts of the track. The BMW has had an increase in boost pressure permitted overnight. So the Schubert Motorsport BMW, Schubert, who of course are also doing double duty with DTM this weekend. Eduardo Cosseteng, he's teamed up with Ben Green. Ben has been very much coaching him and co-driving with him, but he is getting quicker with every race. And Eduardo Cosseteng at the back of that queue looking very good indeed. Another look at the restart there. Really was a great start from Salman Vega, wasn't it? You see Cosseteng taking a much wider line into turn one. I don't think it really gained him very much. And then Benjamin Heites on the wide outside defending from Yanis Fitcher. But that outside line appears to be the quickest way round that corner. I think Salman Vega trying to make that Mercedes as wide as possible into that first corner. A great view back looking at Yanis Fitcher. You can see how close he got to Benjamin Heites. There might have been a little bit of rubbing as they went into that first corner.
Yeah, and a reminder that the race leader, Salman Vega, is a teenager. He's just 18 years of age, from a racing family. His two brothers race as well. His brother Yusuf raced in this championship last year and racing in DTM this year. He's already been a multiple point scorer. So doing a great job. Comes from Cologne, and he's 5.1 seconds clear now of Benjamin Heites. And for HRT as well, who are running the number 2 Mercedes of Alain Valenti and Ralph Aron, and also Ambarescu and Maxi Götz in the number 3 car. They've already had one very successful win today because they won the DTM race just about half an hour ago with Lucas Stoltz. So they've obviously got a good setup around here. It could be interesting to see how they go in the second half of the race.
For many of these drivers, it is their first time around the Sachsenring. It is such an unusual circuit, such a lot of taming required, and Finn Gersit in that 4th place, who is just 18 years old, has come from a world of prototype racing primarily, so this has been a very different discipline for him. He and co-pilot Sven Muller have won one race this year so far, but doing a good job holding it together in 4th place. Alain Valenti, a more experienced driver, in 5th place, just behind him as well. And then Eduardo Cosseteng, who shares with Ben Green. Behind Eduardo Cosseteng, Petru Ambarescu. Jonas Karklees, we saw him this time last year in TCR Germany. He's a little way back. He's 7 seconds back from this battle. It is a steep learning curve for him as well in the number 24. Not passed by Jutta Audi. And he is learning with every lap along with co-driver Jonas Gelginis.
This is really impressive from a Vega. He's a second a lap quicker than anybody else at the moment. So his best lap is a 1:20.457. His last lap was close to that, a 1:20.496. 1:21.4 for Heites in 2nd place, 1:21.3 for Fitcher in 3rd place. So he's stretching the legs of the Mercedes in the lead of the race by over 6 seconds now. But beware, because as Brian said, there's very fast sequence of corners in the second half of this lap. Because there's so many left-handers, there's only 3 right-handers in an anti-clockwise circuit. All the wear and tear is on the right-hand side slick Pirelli tyres of these cars. So you will probably hear some team radio where they're being a bit cautious, telling the drivers to just look after the tyres in the second half of the race, because it's all well and good pushing on and getting quick lap times, but you've got to get the car to the end of the race, and the tyres you need to make last for an hour of racing.
I should think Landgraf Motorsport are probably on the radio to Salman Vega saying exactly that. We cast our minds back 12 months to this event, and there was just an influx of punctures in the closing stages of the race, with tyre degradation being an issue. It was Jules Gounon and Fabian Schiller who won the first race of the weekend this time last year, and Marvin Dienst and Jan Marszalkowski, who took that emotional 2nd win. Marvin Dienst, who's running very well in the DTM nowadays, will be watching this, no doubt, reminiscing about what was a fabulous weekend for him and his co-pilot. Benjamin Heites in that 2nd place, some 7.1 seconds back at the moment from Salman Vega. And Yanis Fitcher, well, he's looking quick in the Porsche, isn't he? Yanis Fitcher just putting the pressure on overtaking not easy here into turn 1 and into turn 12 are the two best overtaking opportunities, but don't want to be putting on too much pressure, taking too much out too soon. It's the battle of second place that we are seeing between Benjamin Heites and Janis Fichter.
Yeah, Janis Fichter in the Huber Porsche. He's doing what you need to do here. He's keeping the pressure up. That means there's no let-off for the Lamborghini ahead. That means that Heites has got to push hard. He's got to push his tyres. He can't afford to back off. Replay on board with Eduardo Cosseteng behind Alain Valenti. Having a look at the inside. That was as close to contact as you can get without actually trading paintwork. And then he creeps past on the run into turn 8, down the hill, under the bridge. Does he get through? He's certainly ahead at this stage, climbing uphill to turn 9. He's done it. Gets ahead. So he's been watching that battle for a while, hasn't he? For 10, 11 minutes, the battle between Gersitz and Valenti, and he gets stuck in and he gets himself up to 5th place.
Great stuff from Eduardo Cosseteng, looking very rapid in that BMW. He saw that gap, very wisely backed out of it when the gap was closing, picked his time, made his move and jumped to the front of that particular battle. So 5th place to Eduardo Cosseteng. Now he has Finn Gersitz up ahead of him. So the two drivers who are both new to GT3 racing this year. Be interested to see how quick Cosseteng can wind in Finn Gersitz. It's 2.2 seconds between them at the moment, as we're riding there with Petru Umberescu in 7th place.
Yeah, Alain Valenti's struggling a bit, isn't he? Because not only has he lost the place to Cosseteng, but it's not more than a couple of laps ago he was right with Gersitz, and now he's a long way behind him. So I wonder if he's struggling with something, because he's been left for dead now by the BMW of Cosseteng, who, when he was racing in British Formula 4 for the last couple of years, became the first ever Filipino driver to race in the British Formula 4 Championship, which is a hugely competitive championship, the likes of which have been won by Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri was racing in it in recent years as well, so it's a real training ground for young drivers. He's got now the GT route, and it's great to see him going well. He's so he got a famous dad in Jody Cosseteng, who's a great racing driver, touring car racer himself, but his auntie, Nikki Cosseteng, was a very well-respected politician in the Philippines, and was actually the senator of the country for a number of years as well.
That's a useful bit of information there. This is what we like. Salman Vega has opened up his lead now to nearly 9 seconds. That's Mercedes is absolutely dialed in at the moment, isn't it? If he goes on to win this race, of course, he will have to carry a success penalty tomorrow, but that is tomorrow's problem. Looking after the tyres, not taking too much out, still now is what he needs to be doing. But the second place battle is a lot closer. Still, Benjamin Heites fending off Janis Fichter. Now, what can Fichter do about the Lamborghini in front of him? We follow them as they head up the hill towards turn 8 and turn 9. And then around turn 10 in a few moments' time, and it'll be the run down the waterfall. Is Janis Fichter close enough to do anything as they head in towards turn 12? The heavy braking is too far back at the moment. Then it's the run up the hill again towards the final turn, which is turn 13. Here they come up the hill, another blind crest. And Fichter too far back at the moment, but you do wonder what he is thinking as they head past the pit straight. Close enough? No, not quite. Down towards turn 1, still following in his wake. Just to remind you, of course, the dynamic of this race will change completely once we have the driver change, because you have drivers potentially with more experience getting behind the wheel. Many of the more experienced drivers doing the second stint this afternoon.
Battle developing is the one for 4th place, because having been released from Valenti, the BMW of Eduardo Cosseteng, the last lap before this one set a personal best lap time, and on that lap he was 0.2 quicker than Gersitz, so he's catching the number 91 Porsche. Over the last 2 laps he's taken half a second out of him, and the BMW is now just 1.3 seconds adrift of the Porsche in the battle for 4th place.
So we'll be watching that closely. The BMW, which certainly does look to be a lot quicker now than it was in free practice earlier in the weekend. So one eye on that and one on this battle here. Still Benjamin Heites, but look at the lead that Salman Vega has. It was a 10.039 last time. It'll make that to 10.252 last time they crossed the timing beam. So Ovega, again, we caution, don't take too much out too soon, but I'm sure the team are on top of that. They will be on the radio from the Landgraf Motorsport pit to control Salman Vega. Elias Sepinen will be limbering up in the background, ready to take over, but that is a heck of a lead to have with 1/4 of the race done.
Good lap for IT's, that wasn't he? Got 4 tenths clear of Fitcher on that lap, so the Porsche suddenly a bit more distant in the mirrors. Here's this gap coming down between the next to the Porsches, the number 91 of Gersitz and the number 20 BMW of Kosseteng. So now 1.049 seconds. He was 3 tenths quicker on that lap as well. So about another 3 laps. He's going to be underneath the rear wing of that Porsche. That's into turn 3. You can't really see it from that picture, but it's a real steep climb out of there, as you can see a bit more from that as they climb uphill. So you've got to get a good exit. You need not just a car around here, Brian, which is quick around fast turns, but you also need good traction out of a couple of slowish hairpins.
Yes, and you've got to be inch perfect as well, because I can tell you those gravel traps are very deep, and if you get into them, you're not coming out again, and you don't want to be getting dirt on the tyres either. We're watching Eduardo Kosseteng. He's not hanging about, is he? So the back end of the car just sliding slightly as he gives it all, as he hones in on Finn Gersitz in front of him. The gap is coming down. It is just over a second, well, about a little under a second now, 9 tenths of a second. So the gap coming down every time they pass the timing loop. You reckon it'll be with them in 3 laps? I think it'll be soon. The sun is shining here at the Sachsenring. There is my co-commentator, Chris, there, who's just taking a trip out onto the banking, enjoying the sunshine.
I don't, my beard's not that long anymore. I'm jealous of that, though. Yes. That is clever thinking. He's well in the shade there, isn't he?
And so now Kosseteng up with Finn Gersitz. This is the fight for 4th place. This is going to get very tasty very soon. Gersitz, who is still learning in that Porsche, as indeed it is Eduardo Kosseteng. Up around the Castrol Omega turn they go. That is turn 3, up towards turn 4. In the background, Alan Valente is disappearing in the rearview mirrors as Eduardo Kosseteng leaves him behind in his wake. But Finn Gersitz, well, Gersitz is responding slightly. He's opened up the gap a bit in this part of the circuit. And then up towards the waterfall, once again they will come down the other side. What can Eduardo Kosseteng do? The grunt in that BMW, it is mighty. The ground shakes as it comes past our commentary position on the home straight. So down we come, down the steep hill, still a little bit too far back at the moment. Finn Gersitz will see Kosseteng in his mirrors. Now the discipline will be to just focus on the driving and not to be too focused on the mirrors.
It's impressive this, though, isn't it, from Kosseteng, because the car that he's driven the last 2 years, a single-seater in the British F4 Championship. I mean, the only thing it has in common with what he's driving this year is 4 wheels and the fact that it's, you know, a rear-wheel drive car. Otherwise, totally different. You know, he's got nothing like the downforce that he gets from the single-seater and the front wing and the rear wings on that car. It's a totally different driving style, and he's adapted really well here, and he's getting ever closer, less than 6 tenths of a second behind Gersitz now. So the Porsche, with its mirrors full of the BMW, goes a bit wide though into turn 3 there.
Yes, it looked like he just lost a bit of ground. We saw him just taking a little look on the inside. It wasn't a challenge, but he's trying to distract Finn Gersitz, trying to fill his mirrors, trying to be ever present. Of course, what he would love is for Finn Gersitz to be staring at his mirrors, to miss a braking point, make a mistake, and leave a gap on the inside. But let's see what they can do again as they come up the hill once again. Eduardo Kosseteng, it looks he's a bit further back from Finn Gersitz this time around as they head back down towards turn 12. The BMW with a bigger gap than I think we had last time around. Let's see if he can close up around into turn 12. They come up the hill once again. So I think maybe a bit of a mistake from Kosseteng. Saw him drop back and not going to be able to make a challenge into turn 1 this time around. Onto the pit straight they come. Finn Gersitz just pretty well inch perfect as he comes out of turn 13. Out along the pit straight they come. Great view there as we look down onto the pit straight into turn 1, and Gersitz still holding on into that 4th place. We're about 5 minutes from the pit window opening, and I would suggest that Gersitz will be quite keen to hand the car over to Sven Müller quite quickly, because Sven is very, very quick, and he will be able to maybe make some really good ground in that Porsche.
The in and out laps are going to be critical, aren't they? With them all, in theory, having the same amount of time in the pits. It's that's where you can really gain ground here. When there's such a small gap between the 2 cars battling over 4th place, 8 tenths of a second, yeah, that can make a big swing either way. So we'll see what they choose to do. 5 minutes away from the pit window opening for 10 minutes for the mandatory stops. Costain just seems to have lost a bit of momentum. It was all with him, wasn't it, for 3 or 4 laps as he closed the gap, but now he's just had that slight mistake, fell away a little bit, and actually Alan Valenti's found a bit of rhythm as well behind, because he was dropped by Eduardo Costain once the BMW got past him, but Valente is kind of matching his pace now. It's just on a personal best through the first sector, so he's found a bit of a groove now in the number 2 Mercedes.
At the start of this race, I said that Simon Vega would open up a lead of maybe 3-4 seconds and hold it. Well, what do I know? 12.194 seconds. That is an insane lead for that car there. The only driver combination, the only car to have won 2 races this year so far, looking to make it 3 and to seal their position at the top of the championship. They had that non-finish at Hockenheim due to a mechanical failure in race 1 of the season, which was very frustrating for them. They felt as though they should have been long away at the top of the championship by now, but this will more than make up for it if they can bring it home. But there is a long way to go, 38 minutes, and that is still a fair old stretch to go. We've still got pit stops and driver changes to come, and they will be incoming in a little over 3.5 minutes. So there is the second place car, Benjamin Heites, ahead of Yannis Fitcher down towards turn 12. Once again, under braking they come. And this is for the last of the podium positions, 2nd and 3rd.
It's also worth pointing out that it's about to get busy for the drivers and teams in the championship. They've had a fairly easy, spread-out start to the year with the first 3 rounds of the championship having taken part over 4 months or so since the start of the season. But now it gets thick and fast, because you've got this weekend, the 5th weekend is in 2 weeks' time, and then in just about a month's time, the season finale at Hockenheim. So they've got these 3 weekends all pretty close together now. So you need to hit the ground running and keep the momentum going for these really important final few rounds of the championship, the second half of the season coming in quick succession, and with the championship finally poised with the top 2 driver pairings split by next to nothing. Costain keeps going wide and deep, doesn't need to turn 3. That's where he's losing out. You can see he just drops back then on the run up the hill.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's running out of grip at the front a little bit. It's a great shot back from the Finn Gersitz car. Looking back at Eduardo Costain, but on that turn 3, he does run very deep into the corner, doesn't he? Really struggling for a bit of traction there. The challenge that he was putting up does seem to be a little bit, although it's come to a halt at the moment, but maybe he's just letting things cool down a bit. Keeping the car cool, keeping the driver cool, keeping the tyres in the operating window. A bit of a twitch from Benjamin Heites under braking as well. So he's clearly got one eye on the mirrors of Yannis Fitcher, who is behind him in that 3rd place. Benjamin Heites continues in 2nd place, the driver from Chile, racing for GRT Grasser. And there will be a certain amount of information that will have been swapped between this driver combination, and Clemens Schmid, who's racing in the DTM. Of course, GRT Grasser running cars in both series, and many people saying that teams that have got cars in both series are going to have a lot more data and a lot more information than those that are doing just one or the other.
Yeah, exactly right. And with the changing track conditions as well, because it's a living, breathing thing, and the DTM cars were out, within the last hour. GT Masters drivers haven't been out since early morning. They're out at 8:30 this morning qualifying, and it's now nearly 29 degrees air temperature. Back then, just like chill in the air even this morning. It's starting to get towards autumn, but it's about 8-9 degrees warmer than it was when they were qualifying, and the track temperature shot up as well. So that is 26 degrees. So what setup or what tyre pressures you ran this morning in qualifying might not be quite so suitable for the track. And it's also all the rubber that gets laid down from the other championships that are racing. They've all got different types of rubber and compounds of rubber and manufacturer brands that they're using, and that can affect the track as well. So you think, oh, we've got a setup, it was great this morning, use the same setup a few hours later, and suddenly it just doesn't work, because you've got to keep adapting to the changing track conditions.
It all changes so quickly, and I was chatting to some drivers earlier, and they all say if you get offline and you do pick up some debris on your tyres, it takes an awful long time. You can't just scrub it off in a corner. It can take a lap to get the tyres cleaned up and get them back up into the right place again. We're looking at Petru Umbra Rescue. See him just dipping a wheel onto the dirt there. There's a bit of a pothole there that I think he found. I think he must live near where I live. So Petru Umbra Rescue in the HRT Mercedes finding a bit of dust, and he, the Romanian driver who is enjoying his first ever season in the ADAC GT Masters. He's come through GT World Challenge Europe, but has also been in GT4 for a few years, also Renault Clio Cup. But this is a whole new discipline. The pit window is now open, so we have a 10-minute window in which all drivers will need to visit the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change. I would suggest that Salman Vega may want to stay out till quite late in the window because he's doing really good laps. He's got good pace, but he's got a clear track in front of him. He has no need to come in. Maybe some of the drivers that are following others closely will want to come in, see if they can do something of an undercut through the pit stop sequence.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I think the way he's driving, he'd probably like to stay out for the entire race, wouldn't he? But although it's a bit hot in the car, 60-odd degrees inside the cockpit, so maybe not. But he's just in a different world, isn't he, in this race so far? Nearly 14 seconds clear after 25 minutes odd of racing. But it's a short pit window in GT Masters, isn't it? 10 minutes. And with the lap times at about 1 minute and 20, that only offers you around about half a dozen laps in which to come in and make your pit stop. But we have got our first cars into the pits. Gersitz Kosseteng coming into the pits already as well. And the number 2 Haupt Mercedes of Alain Valenti is being taken over by Ralph Aron as well.
This is going to be interesting because Sven Muller will jump in when Fiat get into the seat that Finn Gersitz has been occupying. Ben Green will jump into the seat that Edward Kosseteng has been occupying. And Ben Green, may I remind you, a 2-time winner in ADAC GT Masters. Sven Muller also massively experienced in the GT3 racing and in the Porsche. But some notes being swapped there, information being exchanged. Limited to how many people can work on the car, just 2 mechanics allowed to work on the car. So the outgoing driver helps the incoming driver to get buckled up and plugged in. Right, Sven Muller at the seat in the seat of car number 91. He hits the accelerator, back out on track. He is now going to be pushing as hard as he can. There's Ben Green behind him in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. So lots of changes going on. Ralph Aron is in the number 2 car, also into the pits. Number 3, that is Petru Umbra Rescue, who's handing over to Maxi Gert. So suddenly this could get very exciting. Janis Fitcher also into the pits. He's handing over to Nico Menzel. We've got Jonas Karklis in, and it's Jonas Kelginis who will take over the driving duties on that car. So just 2 cars now that have not had their mandatory stop and driver change. We thought Salman Vega might stay out a long time, and Benjamin Haiti staying out as well. We're looking at Janis Fitcher. No, there's not a problem. Remind you, there is a minimum pit stop time. That's what the clock means. That's ticking down on the side of the graphic. What the drivers will be aiming for is to hit the exit line of the pits when the clock strikes 0, and not a moment before, and preferably with them not too long afterwards. There's Eduardo Kosseteng. Good job done as he chats to his engineers in the Schubert Motorsport pit.
It costs you a lap, essentially, doesn't it, a pit stop around here with that minimum time. So the top 2 haven't been in yet, and just over the line comes Vega. Haitis and the Lamborghini staying out as well for another lap by the looks of it. And they're both a lap ahead now of the car that's 3rd in the order, which is Ben Green in the number 20. In fact, Muller, isn't it? Muller ahead of Kosseteng, and that battle and the gaps looked about the same as they came out of the pits, but as it was before they came into the pit window. It's interesting, isn't it, with the second drivers coming in, they are straight into battle. If you're the driver that starts, you get all the time to think about it on the grid and build up and have a formation lap, but it is literally 0 to 260 kilometres an hour and straight into the battle if you're the driver getting in second.
Yes, no getting up to speed there. Benjamin Haitis has now handed over to Marco Mappelli. Marco Mappelli always shines here at the Sachsenring. He was been a real entertainer here in the GT Masters over the years. Your graphic is now updated. Is Ben Green Green in the number 20 Schubert BMW. So just one car now that has not pitted, and that is our race leader, Simon Vega. I reckon he's going to stay out for at least another 4 minutes or so before he comes in. The 63 car stationary at the moment, waiting for the clock. Now, keep an eye on that. 10 seconds, 9. He can see the white line ahead of him. He can't back off too much, otherwise he'll pick up a penalty. It's all critical here. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and 0.2. Well, that's sloppy, isn't it? 0.2 of a second. Brilliant job from the team, losing the minimal amount of time in the pit stop. Now, time to get back on it. Marco Mappelli, as you already said, he's got to get into the rhythm. Up ahead of him, Nico Menzel is already in that rhythm.
Yeah, so he's lost out to the Porsche there, hasn't he? The Lamborghini, the Porsche that was started by Janis Fitch. Nico Menzel, of course, he's already up to speed and in the flow of things. The tyres and the car, of course, already up to temperature because he's gone just ahead of the Lamborghini now. So the Lamborghini that was started by Fitcher with Marco Mappelli has got to get that place back effectively. So Vega's still the race leader. He's still coming to make his pit stop. His last lap time was 1:21.5. Best lap time 1:20.4. So car's getting lighter of fuel, but tyres getting worn down as well. And yeah, we've got Mappelli and Muller and Green and Aaron, drivers like that, who are going to start to push those lap times now, even if the tyres are a bit second-hand for them.
So Nico Menzel did exactly what he needed to do, putting in the hot laps while the others were pitting and getting the space out on the track. Right, here comes Vega again, staying out late in the window. He can still squeeze in a couple more laps. He must not miss the pit window, though. That is absolutely critical. He leads the field by a lap, courtesy of the fact that he hasn't stopped yet. In second place, Nico Menzel, who has made the jump on Marco Mappelli in the number 63 car through the pit stop sequence. Sven Muller in fourth place, Ben Green in fifth. We expect him to make some progress from there. He is always very quick around here. Ralph Aron in sixth place, Maxi Gertz in seventh, and it's Jonas Gelgini, I beg your pardon, in eighth place in the number 24 car.
Sven Muller, the former Porsche Carrera Cup Super Cup champion and Deutschland champion, has already set the fastest lap of that car, the number 91 Porsche. So 1:21.2 for him last time around. And Maxi Gertz has set the absolute best middle sector. It's only a short sector that, but pushing on. It's a very hilly paddock and spectator area here. I can attest to that. I've stopped myself and had a few pants for air. And we ran around the track last night, or Brian ran around, and I traipsed around behind him. And yeah, I know what you mean about the hills. They are very, very steep and very wide. Again goes the BMW, this time at the hands of Ben Green. And then Ralph Aron, we want to watch, running the number 2 HRT Mercedes. And there is Maxi Gertz, who is flying on our run around the track. He was cheating last night, Maxi, because he was on a scooter. But he joined us for part of the run for a chat. And he said this is the best racetrack in Germany, didn't he?
Yes, and we would agree with him on that. It is spectacular. And I have to say, walking around at sunset last night, running around at sunset last night, was a very great experience. There we go. Maxi Gertz,
that's what you say.
Yeah, out of breath experience. Maxi Gertz, who we're looking at there, great to have him back in GT Masters. Of course, Arjun Maini, who has been in the seat of that car at Hockenheim and Nürburgring. He's racing in the DTM this year, so he is not allowed to take part in GT Masters on the same weekend. Maxi Gertz, of course, a former champion in the DTM in 2021. He's also a 6-time winner in GT Masters. He knows his way around here, and he is doing a great job in that Mercedes. Let's see what he can do. In 7th place, so we've got Ralph Aron ahead of him. He's got about 3.6 seconds to make up to catch him. Simon Vega still out. Now, can he get round? No, he's going to have to pit this time around, isn't he? So I reckon we're going to see Simon Vega now into the pits. You don't want to leave it too late in the pit window. And here he comes. Oh, he fooled us there. He made it look like it was going straight on. Here he comes. Simon Vega from the Vega family. His brother, Yusuf Vega, has just been racing in the DTM. His older brother, Hamza Vega, was racing in Prototype Cup Germany last weekend. Now it's Salmonson, the youngest of the three. the sons of Dr. Vega, and he teaches them well. But now his work is done for the day. Out of the car he gets. He helps Elias Zeppelin into the car. This is a partnership that really works. You can see that Simon Vega and Elias Zeppelin, they're great friends. Whenever you see them around the paddock, they are together and they know each other well. A great partnership. And we're looking now at them in the picture-in-picture. Nico Menzel, who's quite a long way back on the circuit still at the moment. We'll keep the progress to see where Elias Zeppelin emerges in comparison to Nico Menzel. Well, I think the answer to that is going to be by a heck of a long way, because Nico Menzel is still heading up around turns 10 and 11. He's still got to come down the waterfall around to turn 12 up to 13. So great job by Simon Vega. Now Elias Zeppelin needs to sit in the seat and bring the thing home.
It's going to be an even bigger lead than they had before the pit stops, I think, isn't it? But the last timed gap that I saw before all the others started to come in and make their pit stops was a 15-second advantage for Vega, but it's way more than that. Look, he's got the entire start-finish straight and then some advantage over the second-place car, which is Nico Menzel, who leapfrogged past the Marco Mapelli Lamborghini during that pit window. And so that second place now, it's going to be 20-plus seconds back, I think, when we see them come through at the end of the time trap. And then third and fourth come through. Mapelli now in the number 63 Lamborghini, the Grasso Racing Team Lamborghini, and Sven Muller in the 91 Porsche, just 0.9 of a second behind him now. The gap coming down by half a second on the previous lap. So Muller is going to be on him by the end of this lap, I reckon, as you ride on board the German driver's Porsche, charging after that Lamborghini and the final spot on the podium.
We always knew Sven Muller was going to be rapid. Finn Gersitz, he is such a quick driver, but he's still very much in the early stages of his career in GT3 racing. Sven Muller has been around for quite a few years, no disrespect intended, but you can see on board there, you can see the concentration as he closes in on Marco Mapelli in front. He is looking very quick. Mapelli just picking up a little bit of dirt as he comes around the corner, down towards turn 12, once again under braking. Look how much distance he takes out of the car in front. Sven Muller looking for that podium position, P3. Marco Mapelli up ahead. I don't know what state the tyres are in that Lamborghini, but it goes wide out of the final corner. Along the pit straight they come, a little bit too far back to do anything about it this time around, under braking into turn 1, the sharp right-hander, and still he doesn't really close in much in that particular corner, but now through this windy section, this is where Sven Muller really shines, around turn 3 and up through Castrol Omega, up the hill once again.
But the fastest driver on the track for the last 2 laps has been Maxi Goetz, back in 7th place at 1:21.1. The next best driver is the one he's trying to catch, Ralph Aron, with a 1:21.4. And these guys battling for the podium positions are around about 0.3 of a second slower than that on the last lap. They're in the mid 1:21s to high 1:21. So Goetz trying to charge after Aron. They're both quicker than Ben Green ahead of them, but Ralph Aron to Ben Green, that gap from 5th to 6th, Ben Green has got a 4.5 second advantage. Aron is about 2.8 seconds clear of Goetz, but Goetz will continue to push on, and he's done another good first sector on this lap as well.
So the back of the field catching the front of the field, that's always what we like to see, isn't it? Some great perspectives here. You can see Sven Muller, the picture-in-picture. You can see how much he's working the wheel as he closes in on the Lamborghini in front of him out of 13. Once again, along the pit straight. He's closer now than he was on the lap before. So your 2 views as we now look from the outside at the 3rd place Mapelli, 4th place Muller. Ben Green there as well, trying to close in on the Porsche in front of him. So the gap back to Ben Green, 1.9 seconds. So we'll see what he can do about that. But this is the fight at the moment for 3rd place, the last of the podium positions. Marco Mapelli, Sven Muller, and soon to join them, Ben Green.
Yeah, don't rule Ben Green out of this. 2/10 quicker on the previous lap. There he is in the Schubert BMW, a driver that started his car racing career in Ginetta Juniors in the UK, part of the British touring car package. Just 100 brake horsepower he had available to him there. He's times that by about 5 now in these cars, but he's come up through the DTM Trophy and won that. Prior to that, in the UK, he was front runner in the GT GT4 Super Cup as well, the Ginetta GT4 Super Cup, which he finished second in the championship, got 7 class wins that year. So he's still a young driver, only in his mid-20s, but he is certainly accumulated a lot of experience, not just in the UK in Ginettas, but in GT cars in Germany and across Europe over the last few years. So the Schubert Motorsport team, Torsten Schubert's team, he's got a good car there, a good setup, and the BMW pushing on. What he could do with Brian is these two ahead getting into a bit of a fight, because as soon as they start to fight each other, they'll hold each other up, and the BMW will be right on top of them.
Yes, that's the dream ticket, isn't it? The two of them running side by side. They will lose lots of lap time or even just fighting each other. But Marco Mappelli, he's going to have to start defending before too long if Sven Muller gets any closer to him. Meanwhile, up ahead, Nico Menzel, he is some 3.7 seconds clear at the front. Elias Seppänen continuing to stretch the gap, 15.3 seconds. So it is really the last of the podium positions that we're seeing being fought. You see how hard Sven Muller is pushing. You saw how wide he went. You saw the car twitching a little bit out of the corner. Ben Green still in the background there.
Maxi Götz again, a low 121. He's just on a personal best through the first sector, so he's catching Ralph Aron for 6th place. And the two Mercedes just less than 2 seconds apart now. Seppänen, the race leader, 15.3 seconds clear. He was slower than Menzel on that last lap, but he was only slower by a few thousandths of a second, a 1:21.7 for both of them, 30 thousandths of a second between them. You can see just how much Ben Green is pushing on as we get into the final 20 minutes of the race now in that BMW. Through the first sector on this lap, he was a 10th quicker than Sven Muller, but Sven Muller did lose out to Mappelli, who's just sort of recovered a little bit now in this battle in the Lamborghini. He's just keeping that Porsche at arm's length for now, isn't he?
He is, and just got him in his sights, but not really enough to actually get up closer. Looked for a while as though he was going to be challenging Mappelli, but as you say, he's dropped back a bit into the clutches of Ben Green. We said Ben Green is pushing on. Well, he knows nothing other than pushing on. He's won 2 races, that amazing weekend at the Red Bull Ring last year, which he will remember forever, where he won back-to-back races. That's a very, very unusual feat in the world of GT Masters. And the Schubert BMW was mighty then, and he's looking good here. He's got one eye on this battle once again. It's Sven Muller who tries to close in on Marco Mappelli, very much as you were. Elias Seppänen, well, he's lost a couple of tenths to Nico Menzel, but he can afford to do that because he's still got 15.8 seconds a lead at the front. So the gap has shrunk a little bit. He's extended it again since they've crossed the last timing beam. Out towards 12 once again, and up the hill. This fight for the last of the podium positions. Marco Mappelli in the GRT Grasser Lamborghini being challenged by Sven Muller in the team used by Race Motion Porsche. Now, suddenly, Muller looks closer. Maybe he was saving himself. Maybe he was cooling the tyres for a bit. But it looks like the challenge is on. He looks to the inside under braking, and he just went sailing past. And Mappelli didn't have anything. He has got a problem. So he passes through the penalty box.
Is it?
Not because he's got a penalty, but he's got a right rear that's gone down. So, well, that's Christmas for Sven Muller. Marco Mappelli, after such a strong showing, now has the long crawl back to the pits, and it is going to be a long crawl because he's a long, long way away. So the Lamborghini ambling through those corners, having taken over from Benjamin Heites. We said tyres might be an issue this weekend. This is the first failure we've seen, and that was it there. You saw it explode along the pit straight into turn 1. It did look rather easy for Sven Muller, and we can see why now.
Yeah, and I suppose if the tyre was going to blow anywhere, that was as good a point as any, because if it had been in the middle of one of those high-speed corners out the back of the circuit, that could have been very hairy. But the right rear going, and of course, that's what you said, it's tough on tyres around here. The tyres don't get replaced in the pit stops, and guess what? It's on the right-hand side of the car, and it's all left-handers. The tyre has separated itself now from the wheel. It heads off into the gravel trap, goes out for a day at the beach, and lands into the arms of the barrier there. So a 3-wheel Lamborghini now ambling its way back to the pits. A real shame for Marco Mappelli, because he had been doing a good job of fending off Sven Muller, hadn't he?
Yes, he had, and it's good that that tyre parted company because it could have done a lot of damage. Now, Maxi Goetz onto Ralph Aron. We said he was going quickly, didn't we? Well, Ralph Aron currently in 5th place. Maxi Goetz has got his eyes on that. It is Mercedes versus Mercedes. To remind you, Maxi Goetz is a massively experienced pilot in the ADAC GT Masters. He knows what he's doing. Ralph Aron still learning the ropes. How long can he hold off Maxi Goetz?
Yeah, two Mercedes separated by just about a Mercedes length at the moment. So they come out through turn 7, through the end of the first sector, downhill then through there, and then they begin the climb from 8 up to 9 and 10 up at the crest they'll be, and then it's into that really quick back end of the circuit as just kissing the gravel there was Maxi Goetz to go through the left-hander at turn 10, 4th gear through there, already up to over 200 kilometers an hour, downhill now, down this ski jump run, and at about 260 kilometers an hour, just under that they get to before they hit the brakes, slow it down for 3rd gear, exit the penultimate turn, a little downhill drop, and then you're into this climb down to 2nd gear for the last turn, and this is a critical exit now. Maxi Goetz piling the pressure on Ralph Aron for what is now the battle for 5th place.
Out along the pit straight they come, being careful not to pick up too much dirt on the tyres, down towards turn 1. Ralph Aron will have his mirrors full of Maxi Goetz. He's too far back at this point, but closing in on every lap. Now into turn 2 they will go. The two Mercedes running together, then it'll be the windy section of the circuit around to turn 3, the Castrol Omega turn, and then it is up the hill to turn 4, the blind crest once again. Maxi Goetz following every move in front of him. Ralph Aron, he's lining him up. You know a challenge is going to be incoming before too long. Here they come again. It's downhill to this section, then a little squirt on the power as they head towards turn 8. Then this will be where Maxi Goetz will try and get as close as possible, potentially, as they come around the waterfall, round turn 10 and down the waterfall will be the best opportunity to make a challenge, maybe to unsettle him and then to make another challenge into turn 1. Here we come. This is the downhill section. It's Ralph Aron, the front of the two Mercedes, under braking now into turn 12. It'll be the climb up the hill once again. Maxi Goetz closer than he's been at any point. Ralph Aron taking a wide line into that final corner, then back to the inside. Out along the pit straight we come. So, Ralph Aron, Maxi Goetz fighting head-to-head. Mercedes cars, not side by side, but one behind the other, in towards turn 1. And still, Aron fights to live another day, lives to fight another day into turn 1. Maxi Goetz still monstering him into turn 2, into turn 3. I'm told the only way you can really get past on this part of the circuit is to try and force the car in front to make a mistake. That's exactly what Maxi Goetz is trying to do. You saw Aron very tentative on the brakes. Goetz flashing the lights, closer than ever, but still Aron holding on to that position.
Just and they're run by the same team, of course, Hapt Racing, HRT, these two Mercedes, and the battle for 5th continues to rage on. We've got 13 minutes to hang on to this, Ralph Aron, to deal with the pressure that's been coming from the 2021 DTM champion. Been keeping an eye on the gap from 3rd to 4th as well, and Muller was definitely being held up by Mapelli, because since Mapelli's retirement with the visit to the pits with the puncture, he's got going again in 8th place, but he's pulled away, Muller, from green now to the tune of nearly 3 seconds. So Muller looking good for 3rd place. He's still 4.3 seconds behind Nico Menzel in the 2nd place Porsche, and Sepinen, the race leader, holding station, just growing his gap ever so slightly to 16.6 seconds. Flashing the lights again as he comes out of the final turn is Maxi Goetz to go past the commentary box window, up over this slight roller coaster, and then downhill it corkscrews on the way through turn 1. They're about 75 kilometers an hour through here. Wait to get on the throttle, and they'll have to wait a bit longer and have to be a little bit more tentative on the throttle with the tyres now wearing thin.
Good job by Ralph Aron. That's an immense pressure. You've got to work pretty hard to keep Maxi Goetz behind you on a good day. Up the hill they come once again. So Ralph Aron just holding on to that racing line. He knows that if Maxi Goetz is going to get past, he's going to have to make some kind of mistake. Aron is to try and find that route past in this part of the circuit. So Aron still in 5th place. Goetz still in 6th under the bridge once again up the hill. Now Maxi Goetz, is he lining him up for another challenge. Just to remind you, they are teammates. They're in the same team. They're racing each other, but very, very important they don't take each other out. Here is Ralph Varon once again down that steep section, and still Maxi Goetz too far back to do anything about it here. Into turn 12 once again, and back up the hill towards the final turn. This will be the time when Goetz wants to be as close as possible, but he seems to have dropped back a bit in that latter part of that lap. He's too far back here now to make a challenge into turn 1. So Maxi Goetz not making the kind of ground in that last lap that we kind of expected to. Wonder if the tyres are starting to cry enough in that car.
Meanwhile, Mapelli in the Lamborghini with 4 tyres now in the car after that puncture, and the visit to the pits was right on the tail of Gelsinis in the Audi as they went past the commentary box window on the way into turn 1. So I reckon by the time they come back into our view, Mapelli will be at least not last anymore, but back up to 7th in the Lambo. But yeah, Aaron has just sort of stemmed the tide here, hasn't he? And just giving himself a little bit of breathing space now. Maybe Maxi Goetz is just having a breather, winding himself up for another attack. And the longer it goes on a battle like this, the more it favours the driver ahead, because they will know where the attacks are likely to come from, where the driver behind is a little bit stronger, and they'll be able to defend accordingly.
You see Maxi just sliding the back of the car round the corner. The tyres still very tired indeed in that battle for 5th place. Up at the front, Elias Seppänen continues to stretch his legs. He has a big lead over 2nd place. There he is, Elias Seppänen, but needs to be mindful of the fact that tyres need to go the distance. So there's Elias Seppänen, 16.7 seconds is the gap over he and Nico Menzel. Then it is Sven Muller in the Porsche. And the man coming back, Marco Mapelli, you just saw him briefly there, but this is Elias Seppänen, the driver who is often seen out on his bike, a really keen cyclist. I mentioned it earlier, his relationship with Salmon Ovega as a driver combination is really good. They can communicate with each other. They have a car setup that they can both share, and they know each other well, and they've proven to be very, very powerful, moving themselves level in the points championship as a result of that pole position this morning, looking to extend that lead in the championship if they can bring it home. They've got 9 minutes though, and it's not just about the gap, it's about the car going the distance and indeed the tyres. At the risk of repeating ourselves, Elias Seppänen, well, he's still pushing hard, isn't he? 120.457, so he clearly doesn't think there is an issue with tyres. He crosses the line, and then we'll just nip out, have a cup of tea, come back again and wait for 2nd place to cross the line in about 20 seconds, a little under.
Yeah, he's lapping about 3/10 quicker than Menzel and Muller in 2nd and 3rd. And he can't even see them in the mirrors. There's a long, long wait before you get the 2nd place car coming past the commentary box window now. Menzel's Porsche, and then Muller in the number 91 Porsche comes through. Next over the line he goes, and into turn 1. So yeah, about 3 or 4 tenths per lap quicker. So he creeps the gap out to 17 seconds now. They've got the fastest lap from Ovega early on in the race as well. He did the groundwork, didn't he? Salmon Ovega just got on with it straight away and built up this nice big 15-second cushion, which is now extended out the lead to 17 seconds. But here's an advantage which is diminishing once more, because Ralph Varon coming back under pressure from Maxi Goetz. The fish almost got away, but Maxi's reeling him back in slowly.
I think Maxi Goetz was probably looking just to cool the tyres down, cool the brakes down, maybe cool himself down a little bit, because it is blooming hot out there, I'll tell you that, at 29 degrees centigrade. Now the assault. He's got 7.5 minutes to find out how he's going to get past the number 2 car in front of him. Ralph Varon has not put a wheel wrong for the whole time that he has been in the seat of that car. Maxi Goetz, though, is a very wise driver, and he is trying to think what he can do in the last 7.25 minutes to find a route past. It is the closest battle on the track at the moment, and it is the battle for 5th place. This is race 7 of a 12-race season for the ADAC GT Masters, the first race of the 2nd half of the season, the first of 2 races this weekend. The drivers that are currently in the car at the moment will be qualifying the car tomorrow morning for race 2, with the drivers who qualified today doing the 2nd stint. In towards turn 1, Goetz having a look. Now, that wasn't a challenge, but it's just about trying to hassle, unsettle. It's all part of the psychology, the flashing of the lights, the filling the mirrors. It's about trying to forced the car in front into making a mistake.
It's about making the driver ahead go to his absolute maximum speed, and that means he pushes the tyres. The tyres are screaming no because they're nearly an hour old now, and just once or twice, including coming out of turn 9, Ralph Lauren has just run a bit wide and got a bit too close to the gravel, and that's the sign that he is pushing as hard as he can. He doesn't really want to be doing that at this stage of the race, but Maxi Götz is forcing him to go at absolute full chat in this battle for 5th place.
The two HRT Mercedes AMG cars running together is a battle that has been raging on for many, many laps. The experience of Maxi Götz against the relative youth of Ralph Lauren, flashing the lights once again into turn 12, and still no challenge on that part, but it's here where he seems to be really strong. Up the hill comes Maxi Götz once again, 5.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining, out of turn 13, onto the pit straight he comes, now showing himself in the mirrors of the car in front. Along the pit straight they come. Is he going to make a challenge in towards turn 1? Aron moves to the left, there's a gap on the inside. Will Götz be tempted to lunge into it? No, he won't, under braking. But then into turn 2 they come, still as you were, still Aron holding on.
Just the Estonian, just clear of the German driver as they come through turn 3, almost nose to tail. It's at the end of the lap, though, isn't it, when Maxi Götz through turns 12 and 13 looks to have the advantage through the high-speed stuff, and he got a really good run coming out of that uphill climb out of turn 13, which was why he was so close going into turn 1. I think we've been another 10 metres down the road. Oh, we got Menzel from second.
Oh, my goodness. So, Nico Menzel into the gravel. This is going to bring out a safety car with 4.5 minutes remaining. It may well be this race finishes under the safety car. What an absolute shame. Nico Menzel, who took over the number 25 car from Janis Fitcher into the gravel trap, and that is up at turn 5. That's at the top of the hill. Now, whether a tyre has gone down or whether he's had an issue, whatever it is, hopefully we'll find out in a bit, but the safety car is out. That massive, massive lead that Elias Sebenen had is gone. The massive lead means absolutely nothing when you're behind the safety car. I used to think Elias Sebenen will be saying to the breakdown crews, take your time, chaps, I've got all afternoon.
And who are going to be the two drivers together? The two drivers, the two teams that are equal championship leaders going into this race. And we are we going to get any more running, though? 3 minutes, 48 seconds left on the clock. Now, that Porsche is going to take a bit of removing from the gravel trap.
Well, it may well finish behind the safety car. If it doesn't, it's going to be a dash for the cash. But there we are on board with the safety car. It's always fairly present here at the Sachsenring. It's a track where safety cars seem to be a regular feature. So out we come. Less than 3.5 minutes remaining, plus 1 lap. I think they're going to struggle to get this thing back under green flag conditions again. So Elias Sebenen leading the way. Sven Muller is promoted up to second place. Ben Green promoted up into the last of the podium positions. Ralph Lauren, he'd be quite happy for this to finish behind the safety car as well, because Maxi Götz was monstering him. Then Jonas Gelginis, and the Nico Menzel car in the gravel means that Marco Mepelli should inherit the 7th place. Safety car is out here in race 1 of 2 here at the Sachsenring, round 4 of the season for the ADAC GT Masters. And there is Elias Sebenen leading the field around. He's going to hope there's plenty of grip left in these tyres if it does go back to green flag conditions.
Well, at least he's not lonely anymore. I think it's the first time since he got in the car he's seen anything in his mirrors, isn't it? He's been so far clear, and he'll be screaming, please take your time, to the recovery team and the marshals. Don't rush. I'm quite happy to finish behind the safety car. I don't really want Sven Muller breathing down my neck for a lap or 2 of restart action. We'll take the win. Muller would absolutely, of course, love the chance to go for the win, but he's already benefited. He's already moved from 3rd to 2nd, so he's now going to get 20 points in his teammates instead of 18. So still, it'd be a narrow gap, won't it? 2 at the top of the championship table, but if he gets a chance for a restart lap, you can be sure that Sven Muller is going to have a go, and you can be absolutely sure that Maxi Götz is going to have a go at Ralph Lauren if they get to restart as well. Not that they weren't nose to tail in the first place.
So Elias Seppänen, this is his 20th race ever in ADAC GT Masters. This is Sven Muller's 59th. Sven Muller has 3 wins at the moment in his career in GT Masters. Elias Seppänen looking to equal that along with Sam Vega if he can bring this home in first place. But there is the small matter of the safety car at the moment. Now, there are some lapped cars in the way as well. So I think that by the time this is all sorted out, I get the feeling we are going to be at 0 plus 1 lap. It is Seppänen at the moment. He does not want this to go back to green. No, safety car is in on this lap. Race director is saying, I want to see this finish. Fortunately for Seppänen, there are some lapped cars in the way, so they're not going to get them out of the way, so Muller would have to clear those. So I think Seppänen, if he can hold it all together, should still be in the box seats. There are those 2 back-marking cars. There's Marco Mapelli and Jonas Gelginis ahead of Sven Muller. He will be looking to get past as quickly as possible. Keep an eye on Ben Green in 3rd place. We are back under green flag conditions here. 30 seconds plus 1 lap remaining of this race. Weaving to keep heat into the tyres. Keep an eye on Ben Green in the background. We said he might make a move. He's done exactly that to the inside of Sven Muller into turn 1. There's a back-marking Lamborghini in the way. Muller fighting back. The 2 cars bounce off each other. They couldn't be closer. Running side by side through the corners. Ben Green goes wide into the dirt. Does he hold it together? Yes, he does. He's taken that position. Also, Maxi Goetz is through as well. The driver who had been hassling Ralph Aron for so long, finding his route past Sven Muller, far from going forwards, has gone backwards. This is get out of jail free for Elias Seppänen as well. That's Menzel, who is
freewheeling. Now he has got 1 tyre missing, so that was probably what sent him into the gravel. A right rear puncture, just like the Lamborghini of Mapelli before him. What about Maxi Goetz for a podium then? He's onto the tail of the BMW of Ben Green now.
So Ben Green holding on to that 2nd place. Can he do that? Into turn 12 once again. The Lamborghini keeping out of the way. Sven Muller isn't done yet. He's in 4th place. He fancies a podium as well. Maxi Goetz giving Ben Green the hurry up as they head up towards turn 13. Out onto the pit straight. Ben Green at the front of that gaggle of cars, but it's all hell let loose behind. Maxi Goetz is alongside. In towards turn 1. Ben Green on the inside. Maxi Goetz on the outside. Who can slow it down? Who can get in front? I think it's going to be Ben Green. Maxi Goetz is going to have to give up the challenge at the moment, but we're on the final lap of the race. Running out of time. Sven Muller there as well.
Yeah, Laron has got past coming out of turn 1. Muller as well, so it's been a nightmare restart for Muller. It might have been beneficial. It's gone the wrong way for him. It's going the right way for Ben Green. It's going the right way for Maxi Goetz as they battle for the final, for 2nd place. 2nd and 3rd they are. Aron behind in 4th, trying to get on the podium as well, but Seppänen is long since gone. 4.2 seconds clear on the last lap of the race.
Elias Seppänen heading up towards turn 8, but we are watching the fight for 2nd place. It's still Ben Green at the moment. Maxi Goetz behind. He fancies moving up a step on the podium. They're going to be heading down the waterfall for the very last time today. It's still Ben Green in that 2nd place along with Eduardo Cosatang. Done a great job in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. Nico Menzel just keeping out of the way. He can still pick up points here, you know. Into the final couple of turns. Up at the front, Elias Seppänen leads the way in the Mercedes. Out of the final corner. It's going to be a win for Elias Seppänen and Sam Vega. Their 3rd win of the season, moving them right to the top of the points standings. Ben Green, great job into 2nd place, ahead of Maxi Goetz from the back, and then Ralph Aron. Sven Muller recovers to come home in 5th place, ahead of Jonas Galginis, Marco Mapelli, and Nico Menzel. Well, 8th place was not what he was hoping for about 5 minutes ago.
No, really turned around, didn't it, with that 2 laps restart after the safety car, but not for Simon Vega and Elias Seppänen, who got his head down. He knew he got those 2 back markers between him. He still knew he had to get on with it. We were all thinking Sven Muller's maybe going to come after him, but in the end, Sven dropping off the podium and finishing in 5th place. Maybe his tyres were down as well, but it was a real opportunistic bit of driving in the BMW from Ben Green, wasn't it? Because up until the safety car, Ben had been kind of falling away a little bit from Sven Muller, but he took his chance, grabbed it. So too did Maxi Götz, and then Ralph Aron got past Muller at the start of the final lap of the race as well, which all means that Seppänen and Vega now have a bigger championship advantage than they had provisionally when that safety car was out.
Well, Ben Green, you give him even the slightest hint of an opportunity and he's there like a rat up a drain pipe. And this was the move that saw him past Sven Muller. He looks as cool as a cucumber, Ben Green does, doesn't he? Sailing past the Porsche, and of course hangs him out to dry. Opens the door for Ralph Aron and Maxi Götz to come through as well. But Ben Green, you don't have to ask him twice. You can see.
He's going through the gravel, wasn't he?
On the dirt. The tyres would have been a bit grubby here on this, but he still holds it together. A bit of drifting, and this is a replay. The squeeze as he tries to work his way past Sven Muller. Great driving skills. BMW versus Porsche. This time it's personal. Through the potholes, around the Castrolomega turn. Ben Green, wonderful driving. Look at that, the 3 abreast. And how did Sven Muller actually survive that? He could have ended up pointing in the wrong direction.
All close enough to have a chat about the weather, weren't they? Absolutely incredible. But Ben Green, that was utter determination. Have we run out of road? Yeah, don't care. Have we run out of grass? Yeah, don't care. I'm keeping my foot in. Gravel trap, don't worry about it. I'm keeping my foot in. And eventually, after 3 corners together, he got the line all the way to turn 3. That was brilliant stuff. But hard, but fair racing from all of them, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Brilliant stuff. Just goes to show you don't need a massive field of cars for great racing. And that was spectacular. As Ralph Aron giving him a little kiss as he goes past. It was more of a snog, actually. But there is the replay of Elias Seppänen coming out of turn 13 to receive the check flag. He and Salman Vega, well, they have not put a foot wrong all day. And they put it on pole position. Well, Vega did, and Elias Seppänen took over, did all the hard work and brought that car home. But we did say tyres would be the issue, and that has proven to be the case once again as we look at the celebrations in the Landgraf Motorsport pit.
Yeah, well done for the team as well. I've had a lot of work getting the car set up over the last 2 days for that race.
Sorry, confirmation. Salman Vega and Elias Seppänen taking the win. Eduardo Kosselek and Ben Green did have to fight for that second place ahead of Petr Ambarescu and Maxi Götz. Alan Valente, Ralph Aron, 4th place. Pretty good showing. Finn Gerst, Sven Muller, they'll be very disappointed by that. Good job from Jonas Karklis and Jonas Gelginis coming home in 6th place. Benjamin Heites, Marco Mappelli, Janis Fitch and Nico Menzel all struggling with tyres and coming home in 7th and 8th place respectively as we look at the glorious sunshine here at the Sachsenring. And there is the point standings. Elias Seppänen and Salman Vega jump to the top. They were equal with Finn Gerst and Sven Muller coming into this race. They now have a 14-point lead. Janis Fischer and Nico Menzel, they will be thinking about what might have been after that. And then Tim Zimmerman and Jackson Evans drop down into that 4th place. But the 1, 2, 3 in the championship very much alive. To remind you, 25 points available in each race. So we still have 125 points available in this championship by my calculations. Those are the rest of the points scrolling through. It is all still to play for in the GT Masters.
Yeah, great move by Ben Green, but a really good first stint as well, wasn't it, from Eduardo Kosselek, who pulled off a good move of his own in the BMW.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like Eduardo Kosselek, he felt like he was a bit in at the deep end when we saw him at the season opener, and he is proving to be learning quickly there in 2nd place, the slow-mo of Eduardo Kosselek. Ben Green, before that we saw Maxi Götz and Petr Ambarescu, and the winning car that coming across the line, dominated qualifying, has dominated the race. How well will they go with a 20-kilo success ballast tomorrow? Well, we'll find out. Salman Vega and Elias Seppänen. Great job in the Landgraf Motorsport Mercedes.
We're on that track run last night. I asked Maxi Götz if he could make the race interesting for us. He said he would. I think he's delivered on his promise, hasn't he? Great drive, great battle with him and Ralph Aron as well before the safety car.
Brilliant stuff. Really, really entertaining. And Elias Seppänen and Salmon and Vega very much making themselves the favourites for the championship as we start the second half of the season. They haven't got too many cars to have to work with at the moment, but we're expecting some more entries on the grid over the next couple of rounds as we look at the heli shot at this wonderful Sachsenring. It has been nicknamed the Mini Nordschleife. This weekend, you've nicknamed it the Mini Spa-Francorchamps as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I love it. I think any circuit that has A, undulations, and B, high speed, almost flat out corners always grabs the attention of drivers and spectators, and it is a wonderful racetrack there, so I can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Great place to come and watch. You can get really close to the action here, and the racing is always spectacular. And the GT Masters, once again, never fails to entertain, and that was a thoroughly entertaining race. The GT4 cars, part of the ADAC package here, along with the DTM this weekend. Porsche Carrera Cup, BMW M2. It has been a real festival of motorsport here in Saxony, and a massive crowd here in the glorious sunshine to witness some great racing, and they would have been really entertained by that. DTM was spectacular earlier. Porsche Carrera Cup Germany was mind-blowing spectacular. We've still got GT4 to come this afternoon, and a packed field of cars for that, so we're quite excited for that. But we've still got the small matter of the podium to come for this race 7 of the season for the ADAC GT Masters, and in just a few moments we hope to see the winning drivers, the 1, 2, 3 up on the podium. So the sun is beating down here at the moment. We're all trying to keep cool, and the teams look on from the pit lane. The HRT team, the only team that are fielding 2 cars in GT Masters this season. Everybody else fielding solo cars, and they have been a very valuable addition as well. Hello, you're enjoying the sunshine? I know we are. And now the teams gather on in Parc Fermé, just in front of the podium. And Landgraf, the legendary team, who have prepared many a winning car, spotted Elias Seppänen and Salmon Vega, who are both in the Junior Championship, and they were leading the Junior Championship by 40.5 points coming into this weekend ahead of Finn Gersitz. They will have extended that somewhat. A team used by Race Motion were leading Landgraf in the Team Championship by 7 points. So I think we might see a reversal in that after that race. So we look up to the podium at the moment as we get ready for the 6 drivers who fill the 1, 2, 3 positions to appear there under the blue skies here at the Sachsenring. It has been entertaining. We have race 2 tomorrow, and then we head to Austria in September. But first of all, there's the small matter of the silverware. Petra Umberescu, and there is Maxi Goertz. He's been sharing driving and also doing commentary duties this weekend as well, and presenting. There is Ben Green and Eduardo Costa. Ben Green looks like he could do with a bit of a lie down after that. But the drivers who steal the headlines, a potent combination. Salmon Vega and Elias Seppänen to the top step of the podium for the 3rd time this season. Brilliant stuff, a crushing display. Can they do it again tomorrow? There is a representative from Landgraf Motorsport as well as we get ready for the national anthem. So there's confirmation of the points standings as we get ready for the podium presentation. Elias Seppänen, Salmon Vega, the Finnish driver and the German driver who work so well together on that top step. And now receiving their first place trophies, wonderful trophies, with the Sachsenring outline as part of that trophy. Here comes the 2nd place. Peter Weidinger from ADAC Sachsen presenting those. And yet another trophy for Maxi Goetz. He's collected a few of those over the years, hasn't he?
Yeah, not bad. He's a good commentator and presenter, but we like to see him in the race car as much as possible, don't we? He's also a great character, isn't he? And really nice chap. So a demon behind the wheel, though, as he proved in that race.
He really did, and really brought it alive, didn't he, in the latter stages of that race. So that was race 7 of the season for the ADAC GT Masters. The drivers and the team representative pose for photographs. I expect they'll need to go and have a lie down and a cool down after that. And then we will turn our focus to tomorrow, which will be race 8 of the season. Qualifying will be at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and the race will take place at 3:05 local time. That's what time we'll be on air, with the green flag at 3:10. The celebrations commence. What a great rocket from Elias Sebnem with the champagne bottle. Champagne fighting, but now that is race 7 done and dusted. We turn our attention to race 8. The championship in the ADAC GT Masters is well and truly alive and kicking. It may well be a completely different set of driver pairings on the podium tomorrow. There's only one way to find out, and that is to join us tomorrow. Yet more champagne go spraying. It has been great racing here at the Sachsenring in this, the 7th race of the season. It'll be Red Bull Ring in September for races 9 and 10, and then it'll all come to a close in October with Hockenheim. But still one more race in the Sachsenring. Join us tomorrow for race 8 of the season. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.